So just kind of talking about like connecting everything together. So the 12 disciples, we were talking about the Bible earlier, so I'll keep connecting it that way. The Buddha also had 12 disciples. Jesus had, I mean, it's all the same story. Honestly, if you look at every single religious story, it's all the same. Even Horus, the ancient Egyptian story of Horus is also Jesus. They all had mothers that conceived them without, it's all the same story. They're all born December 25th, blah, 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 blah. So those 12 disciples are the most important things that you can basically learn about in your entire life, because those 12 archetypes are literally every single person that you'll meet on this planet are connected to those archetypes. If you know them and master them, you can get along with anybody in the world. Not only that, but you can understand your nervous system. You can understand your brain and what's happening inside of it, because the brain connects through Mercury, through the energy that's transmitted from the planet Mercury. It goes into the nervous system, and that's why they say the Mercury rising, or the nervous system is ruled by Mercury in astrology. That's the reason, because it brings in information, electromagnetic information that's literally from the stars. It goes into your electromagnetic brain and it goes through your body. When you're out of alignment, you're literally out of alignment with your stars, right? You're not moving in cohesion with what the energy and the frequency of the stars are. Does that kind of make sense? If we're made of millions and billions of atoms, and at the core element of an atom, it's just space with frequencies that move between it, that's literally all we are. And that's kind of why we're getting our information from an electromagnetic being that's in the sky, whereas the Bible says it's above the firmament. So we're literally acting out and moving through frequencies that are coming through the connection to those planets and those constellations.
That's just mind blowing to think about. It's just, but it's incredibly interesting, really.
And each 12, I think I even have it here too. Each 12 rules a part of your body, and it goes along with. If I had something here, I could show you, but it goes along with the sine wave, right? So the 12 points of the zodiac are also the 12 points of a complete cycle or cipher of a sine wave, right? And if you understand those 12 disciples, you'll actually understand almost everything about everything. Because if you go back to the fact that we're atomic and that we're a frequency, then you understand the 12 points of the frequency and each job that it has to do, and what it does in your body, what it does in your life, what it does with your friends, your family, what it does in the sky. You'll understand everything. I'm just going to give you a couple examples that are really, really short. So basically, I want you to just envision a map of the Earth, okay? And picture, just like flatten it out like a map, and picture the sun's traveling along the ecliptic. So you have the Tropic of Cancer at the top, you have the equator in the middle, and then you have the Tropic of Capricorn in the bottom. And there's a reason why they're named those, because they're actually completely connected to the astrology that is not being taught, but it's on the maps, right? So in Aries, it starts at the equator and it springs up, right? So Aries is a sign of cardinal fire, so explosive fire or creativity. It's connected to the cerebrum, so the upper part of the brain where thoughts come from. So the ignition of a thought, that's what is represented in Aries. So that's where the sun is on the equator, the point where it's just beginning a new season. Then it moves into Taurus. Taurus represents the cerebellum, which is why it's represented by a bull and bellum. It's the same thing, and it actually kind of looks like a bell at the bottom of the brain. That's the lower mind, that's the material brain. And that's why Taurus represents the material world or luxuries, possessions. So after that, when it goes into Taurus, the sun is then moved up a little bit, right? So it's in the sky just a little bit higher. So Gemini represents then the hands and lungs. They call it the twins, or Cain and Abel in the Bible, bringing in air. They call it mutable air. So it's the element of air that is mutable, which if you think about that, what do the lungs do? They bring in air and they mutate it, right? And then it goes throughout the body. So that's why it's called mutable air. Then it goes to Cancer, which is represented the chest and breasts. So nurturing, motherhood, Mary Magdalene. And it's the highest point in the sun in the sky. That's where the Tropic of Cancer is. That's why when it's at the highest point, and then you can see we're kind of forming a sine wave, right? But the sun is at the highest point in the sky. So Cancer, it's nurturing. So why does it represent nurturing? Because it's giving you sun, your crops are growing. It's the most potent time for health and food and birth and creativity and the whole 9 yards, right? It's represented by a crab because it's moving sideways, right? So the sun is moving sideways in the sky. And then it goes into Leo, which is also ruled by the sun. Leo rules the heart. So I believe Leo is fixed fire. So your fixed heartbeat. It's the constant thing that provides warmth to the body. and also your willpower, which is why Leo's called I will. They all have sort of like this weird little phrase to them. Then you go into Virgo. So Virgo is I analyze. So Virgos they're good at organizing, preparing, and analysis. So why is that? Because that's the season that you're preparing your harvest, right? You're just getting ready to prepare prior to the fall, which, by the way, it's called the fall because the sun is falling, right? Down. It's starting to fall down the sine wave and starting to head back towards the equator. So Virgo rules the digestive, I believe it rules bowels, because Virgo is called mutable earth. So it mutates the earth that you put in your body and creates energy from it. And so same thing in the outer world, it mutates the earth. You're digging up earth, right? For fall harvest. So that's why literally everything within and without are exactly the same. Your body is in tune with all of these teachings. Next thing, you go to Libra. Libra is the balance, fairness, scales, equality, equator, right? Because the sun is at the equator, right? And it's at an equilibrium point where things kind of get justified. Libra is, I believe, cardinal air. So it has a lot to do with thinking and preparing all of the stuff that happened in the previous year. Then it goes into Scorpio. So Scorpio in the Bible is Judas the betrayer, and it's the scorpion who stings with his tail, right? Why is that? Because that's the sign that's sending the sun down into hell, down into the darkest point where the sun has its least amount of power, right? So that's what Scorpio is. That's what Judas did. He betrayed the sun. The sun is Jesus, right? So then it sends that energy back down. Also, just so you know, like Scorpio is also the regenerative system, sexual organs. The saying for Scorpio would be, I desire. So what I need, what I want. Then we move into Sagittarius, which is the dude with the big arrow, pointing his arrow at Achilles' heel. That arrow pointing is literally, he's pointing the sun to start going back up. And that we start getting into the darkest days of the sun. So the planets that actually rule this time are Saturn, or Satan in the Bible. And it's funny because Capricorn, the one that's actually ruled by Saturn, the one we're going to talk about next, it's the 10th house in astrology. And if you break down the words say and 10, say 10, 10th house, Satan, ruled by Saturn, right? So all of this stuff, most people don't know, but it's all connected. And then Capricorn is the next one. It's the goat that's climbing up the hill. Also, you look at the sacrificial goat and Satanism and Luciferianism, it's Capricorn, because Capricorn rules Satan, materialism, utility, working, overeating. That's why these seasons are done. That's why Christmas is a materialistic holiday, because Italy actually used to call it Saturnalia. That's what Christmas used to be called, Saturnalia. It's a time when people would just eat their faces off, have orgies in the streets, drink wine, and go crazy. That was Saturnalia, but now it's Christmas. It's cute, right?
Wow.
Then we move up to Aquarius, which is the 11th house. The 11th house basically is the waters are preparing the sun to go back. So if you look at Aquarian energy, Aquarian is about enlightenment of humanity, about spirituality, being in between worlds, and basically humanitarianism. So we're helping to get the sun back where it needs to go. So if you meet the archetype of Aquarius, that's usually what their lives are playing out in this life.
Nicole, on that really quick, I was born on Valentine's Day, February 14th.
Oh, you're an Aquarius as well?
Yeah, February 14th.
Makes sense.
So does that have anything to do with what I'm doing, you think?
Yeah, of course. It has everything to do with what you're doing. That's the funny thing, right? And that's you're playing out your archetype. It's the same thing as me. I was on February 11th.
Wow.
Very similar. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the next one is Pisces. So Pisces is the place in between worlds. That's why you have a fish going upstream and a fish going downstream. One is living in the heavens and the complete unseen world that's about to be created. Pisces is the place before creation. This is the hardest part for people to wrap their minds around about Pisces. Pisces is the void. This is why you have to have utmost faith in your work and your ascension, because if you can't get to the place where you trust, because Pisces is I believe. That's absolute faith in, like, a miracle could happen for me, right? You have to be in a place where almost nothing, this is like Joe Dispenza 101, right? Like, this is what this guy talks about, is like, you almost have to be just completely able to just allow what's going to happen. And that's how miracles happen. Well, that's Pisces. Pisces is the place in between worlds. So that's why, again, there's a fish going downstream into the material world, and there's a fish going upstream into the spiritual world. And then that place where the fish's tail then connects back to the next iteration or the next cycle that will be the next year, then you go back into Aries. So again, this will create a whole wheel that's a cycle. It's also the Taurus field that we talked about. So it's the sun going up, down, and then back, and going up, down, and back. It's the same thing over and over and over. These cycles literally play out in every single part of our lives. You have great cycles of 24,000 years that, remember I said we're leaving the age of Pisces? That's a 24,000 year cycle we just are leaving, going into the age of Aquarius. Now,
it's hard to believe that, but
well, that's why things are so crazy right now, because you look at Pisces. Pisces is mutable water, right? Mutable water. So things that change water, like turbulent waters. So as we go from one age to the other, things change fast. And then we're going into the age of Aquarius, which rules technology, artificial intelligence. Aquarius is a kind of a loner sign. Aquarius likes to, Aquarius loves social distancing. Aquarius is fixed air, so it's mental, it's mind. So that's why the mind is speeding up. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. If you look at the values of Aquarius, that's what's happening right now. Revolution, revolt. It's ruled by Uranus, planet of rebellion. That's what's happening. That's what, if people understood that we're in this cycle, they would understand why the whole world's revolting at once.